Welcome to our channel. Today we are deep diving into India's fisheries regulations and we will break it down for you in a way that's easy to understand. So, hit that subscribe button and let's get started. Fisheries play a crucial role in global food provision, directly providing 15% of animal protein to humans. However, there's a catch. Overfishing and plateauing catches have raised concerns about the sustainability of this vital resource. The importance of regulation. To protect our marine ecosystems and ensure a sustainable food supply, we have to regulate fishing. This is where fishery laws and regulations come into play. They help conserve fish in public waters and prevent harmful fishing methods. Historical perspective. Believe it or not, people in prehistoric India were aware of the need to conserve natural fishery resources. The Indian Fisheries Act of 1897 marked a significant step in regulating fishing and banning destructive practices like the use of explosives or poisons. Key acts and regulations. Let's take a look at some important acts and regulations. Indian Fisheries Act 1897. It covers riverine and inshore fisheries, focusing on conservation and protection of fish. Merchant Shipping Act 1958. This act oversees the registration and control of Indian fishing boats. Third, Indian Wildlife Protection Act 1972. It's responsible for the declaration of marine protected areas and protection of certain species. Marine Product Export Development Authority Act 1972. This act aims to develop the marine products industry. Code of Conduct for Responsible Fisheries. This international code emphasizes sustainable fishing and the best scientific practices. India's initiatives for responsible fishing. India has taken steps to implement responsible fisheries and aquaculture. This includes setting up committees, translating the code of conduct into regional languages, and imposing measures like the monsoon fishing ban for resource conservation. Territorial waters and EEZ. India's constitution divides fishing responsibilities. The state government manages territorial waters up to 12 nautical miles, while the central government oversees fishing in the deep sea or the exclusive economic zone, that is EEZ, extending up to 200 nautical miles. State level marine fishing regulations. The Indian Marine Fishing Regulation, that is IMFR Act of 1980, was the first national legislation to regulate marine and coastal fishing. States have enacted their own regulations to manage mechanized fishing activities along the coast. Uniformity challenges. One challenge is the lack of uniformity in fishing regulations among coastal states. For instance, some states have designated areas for traditional fishing at varying distances from the shore. Harmonizing these regulations across states is crucial. Common provisions. However, there are some common provisions in these state level regulations, including restrictions on the time and methods of fishing, mesh size regulations for fishing gear, licensing and registration of fishing vessels, conservation measures for ecologically sensitive areas, and penalties for violations. A simplified overview of India's fishery guidelines. Now, let's simplify some important guidelines that impact the livelihoods of millions of fishermen and the marine environment. Biological Diversity Act 2002. First up, the Biological Diversity Act 2002. Its goal: protect India's rich biological diversity while ensuring sustainable use. It even covers threatened fish stocks if they are overexploited. Coastal Aquaculture Authority Act 2005. Moving on to the Coastal Aquaculture Authority Act 2005, this one's all about regulating aquaculture along the coast to protect the environment. It's got rules for farms, environmental impact checks, and even restrictions of where you can set up shrimp farms. Other fisheries related laws. There are several other laws like the Coast Guard Act, Indian Ports Act, and more that ensure safety, environmental preservation, and help fishermen in distress at sea. The Majumdar Committee and Coastal Zone Management. The Majumdar Committee, a key player in Indian fisheries policy, proposed various measures including seasonal bans on trawlers. And don't forget, coastal zone management policy is essential for balancing development and environmental protection. New Deep Sea Fishing Policy and Murari Committee. The new deep sea fishing policy stirred controversy, and the Murari Committee played a role in examining its impact. Some key recommendations included no new licenses for certain vessels and a separate ministry for fisheries. National policies and acts. We have the National Environment Policy, Marine Fishing Policy, and the National Fishery Policy, all aimed at sustainable development and the welfare of the fishing community. Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. The Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, or PMMSY, is a big one. It seeks to boost fish production, increase exports, and double the incomes for fishers and farmers. Informal management systems. Last but not the least, informal community management systems where local fishing communities take the lead. India's coastal fishing regulations in different states. Now, let's break down India's coastal fishing regulations in different states. If you're planning to fish along the Indian coast, this information is crucial. Gujarat. In 2003, Gujarat set the rules for fishing areas. Within 5 nautical miles, it's all about traditional craft. But beyond that, up to 12 nautical miles, which is around 9 kilometers, mechanized craft takes the stage. Mumbai. In 1981, they established distinct rules for different regions. In Mumbai, Raigad, and Thane, it's all about fishing up to 5 fathoms, while in Ratnagiri and Sindhudurg, you have got the freedom to fish down to 10 fathoms. Goa, Daman, and Diu. Now, we are heading to the beautiful coastal region of Goa, Daman, and Diu. Back in 1980, they set some interesting rules for fishermen. Within 2.6 nautical miles, which is approximately 5 kilometers, it's all about traditional craft. But beyond that, you can unleash your mechanized craft. Karnataka. Back in 1986, this state divided the coastal waters quite uniquely. Within 3.23 nautical miles, which is around 6 kilometers, it's all about traditional craft. But here's the twist: vessels up to 50 feet can venture a bit further. Beyond that, if you've got a bigger vessel, you're good up to 10.79 nautical miles, which is roughly 20 kilometers. Kerala. Kerala's coastal fishing regulations dates all the way back to 1980. Now, here's the deal. In the southern sector, from Kolingore to Paravur Pozikara, you can fish up to 25 fathoms, and from Pozikara to Kovilatotam, it's up to 18 fathoms. Moving to the northern sector, from Kovilatotam to Manjeshwaram, it's all about fishing up to 12 fathoms. But that's not all. For motorized fishing in the southern sector, you can go as deep as 20 fathoms, while in the northern sector, it's up to 10 fathoms. If you're on a mechanized fishing vessel less than 25 gross registered tons, which is GRT, you've got even more room, up to 35 fathoms in the southern sector and up to 20 fathoms in the northern sector. Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu's fishing rules were established in 1983. Within 3 nautical miles from the shore, it's all about traditional craft, but beyond that, the horizon is yours with mechanized craft. Andhra Pradesh. In Andhra Pradesh, fishing regulations were established in 1994. Within 8 kilometers from the shore, it's all about traditional craft, but here's the twist. For mechanized boats, you need to go beyond 8 kilometers, and if you have a vessel that's 20 meters overall length or above, you can venture even further, beyond 12.4 nautical miles, which is around 23 kilometers. Orissa. Orissa's fishing regulations were established in 1982. Within 2.6 nautical miles or about 5 kilometers from the shore, traditional craft reigns supreme. But wait, there's more to the story. For mechanized craft, it's a bit different. Vessels up to 15 meters need to venture beyond 2.6 nautical miles, while those above 15 meters can go even further, beyond 5.39 nautical miles, which is approximately 10 kilometers. West Bengal. West Bengal keeps it simple. In West Bengal, they have had fishing regulations since 1993. It says that for non mechanized craft under 9 meters, you can sail up to 4.3 nautical miles, which is about 8 kilometers from the coast. If the non mechanized boat is over 9 meters, you've got the freedom to explore up to 10.7 nautical miles, that's around 20 kilometers, but not below 8 kilometers. Now, for our mechanized craft enthusiasts, if your vessel is up to 15 meters, you can venture up to a whopping 50 kilometers, but not beyond 10.7 nautical miles. And if you're sailing a mechanized craft above 15 meters, you've got the whole sea beyond 50 kilometers to explore and beyond 26.99 nautical miles. India Sri Lanka fishing conflict. Now we're diving into a fascinating and somewhat complicated topic: the conflict in the Palk Bay region between India and Sri Lanka, all centered around fishing rights near Kachativu Island. It's a story of politics, history, and environmental impact that has a real impact on local communities. India argues that its fishermen have traditional fishing rights in these waters and that their livelihoods are at stake. Sri Lanka, on the other hand, claims that Indian fishermen frequently cross into its territorial waters and deplete its marine resources, undermining its own fishing communities. This dispute highlights the complex challenges of managing shared maritime resources and the need for both countries to find a sustainable solution to protect their marine ecosystems and support their coastal communities. Historical background. Back in the day during British colonial rule, there were talks about managing marine resources, but they didn't touch on sovereignty over Kachativu. After India and Sri Lanka gained independence, Kachativu's possession became a major issue. In 1974 and 1976, agreements were reached, ceding the island to Sri Lanka, but this didn't sit well with Tamil Nadu. The civil war and rising tensions. Fast forward to the Sri Lankan Civil War from 1983 to 2009, it disrupted the enforcement of maritime borders, while Indian fishing fleets expanded. Post Civil War tensions rose as Indian fishermen entered Sri Lankan waters, violating the agreements. The situation was further complicated by overuse of Indian mechanized trawlers in Polk Bay. Current issues and proposed solutions. Today, the conflict continues with implications for local communities, the environment, and India Sri Lanka relations. So, what can be done? Well, there are proposed solutions including banning bottom trawlers, permits for fishing on both sides of the border, promoting sustainable fishing practices, and creating an authority to manage the Polk Bay. India Pakistan maritime trespassing. Now, let's discuss the ongoing maritime trespassing issue between India and Pakistan. It's a situation that involves fishermen, territorial waters, and strained relations. Our story deals with the frequent trespassing of national territorial waters by Indian and Pakistani fishermen, especially along the Indian state of Gujarat and the Pakistani province of Sindh. It's a recurring issue that's been causing tensions in peacetime. Recently, on May 2023, 198 Indian fishermen were released by the Pakistani government at the Atari Wagah border. They claimed that they had no clue they had crossed the maritime border while fishing and were unaware of its location. But here's the catch. Crossing the maritime border can lead to accusations of violating the Passport Act and around 6 months in prison. So, what's causing all this? It boils down to a dispute over Sir Creek. India wants to divide the estuary according to the Talweg Doctrine, while Pakistan isn't on board with that idea. The Talweg Doctrine says that if a water body runs between two countries, it should be divided so that both countries could get an equal share. This dispute affects a significant international maritime border between the Run of Kutch and Sindh in Pakistan, impacting their exclusive economic zones. The result, a lot of unintentional trespassing. Hundreds of fishermen from both nations find themselves in trouble, often getting arrested by the coast guards. Now, when Pakistani authorities arrest these fishermen for crossing the maritime border, they also seize their boats, and obviously the fishermen want their boats back. However, getting them released can be a long and challenging process, mainly because of the hostile relations between India and Pakistan. China's DWF fleet, an environmental crisis in the Indian Ocean. China's extensive deployment of distant water fishing vessels in the northern Indian Ocean region has raised significant environmental concerns. Unregistered Chinese fishing vessels have shown increased activity near India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Iran, and Oman. In 2021 alone, there were more than 392 illegal Chinese fishing incidents in the Indian Ocean, up from 379 in 2020. The Maldives, Sri Lanka, and Iran have all reported the presence of Chinese DWF vessels in their waters, contributing to this growing issue. Even last year, Chinese spy ships in Sri Lankan waters raised concerns in New Delhi. China's DWF fleet has now expanded across oceans globally, infringing on the exclusive economic zones of more than 80 countries. With over 18,000 boats operating worldwide, China's massive seafood production, nearly double that of its closest competitor, Indonesia, not only impacts the environment but also disrupts local economies on an unprecedented scale. This situation demands urgent attention to address its environmental and economic implications. India and Bangladesh maritime issues. In a significant development dating back to 2014, a United Nations tribunal brought an end to an 4 decade old dispute between India and Bangladesh. The verdict, which was delivered on 2014, settled the maritime boundaries in the Bay of Bengal, awarding nearly 80% of the exclusive economic zone, covering a vast 25,000 square kilometers, to Bangladesh. This landmark decision not only paved the way for Bangladesh to explore valuable oil and gas resources in the Bay of Bengal, but also concluded a long standing sea border dispute that had strained relations between these two neighboring countries for 40 years. Why did India lose out in this arbitration process? Well, according to the sources at this time, India might not have been the ultimate loser in this situation. Despite India's concerns about the arbitrary delimitation, it gained control of the disputed New Moor Island, believed to be rich in oil and natural gas. This island had been a contentious issue between the two nations for years. Additionally, India also secured access to the Haryabanga River, which flows around the Sundarbans in West Bengal and borders Bangladesh's Satkhira district. This region was estimated to hold twice the amount of hydrocarbons compared to the Krishna Godavari basin in Andhra Pradesh. The verdict in 2014 also brought good news for the fishermen of both countries, as they gained access to a larger area for fishing, marking a win win situation for them. Both governments at that time had hailed this decision as a victory for friendship and mutual benefit. Bangladesh's Foreign Minister Abul Hassan Muhammad Ali had expressed his joy, calling it a win win situation for the people of Bangladesh and India. India's Ministry of External Affairs had echoed this sentiment, stating that the settlement of the maritime boundary would further enhance mutual understanding and goodwill between India and Bangladesh by bringing to a closure a long pending issue. Now, let's turn our attention to the current scenario. On August 28, the Indian Coastal Guard and the Bangladeshi Coastal Guard recently convened a high level regional commander meeting via video conferencing as per a memorandum of understanding and standard operating procedures signed between the two nations in 2015 and 2017. The meeting focused on critical maritime issues, including sensitizing fishermen about cross border fishing, information sharing, and capacity enhancement. ICG's Inspector General Iqbal Singh Chauhan and BCG's Captain Mohammad Kabiria Haq co chaired the decision. This collaborative effort highlights their commitment to ensuring the safety and security of their maritime borders, fostering cooperation and communication between the two nations. Fishermen's detention in the Maldives. In an unexpected twist during a deep sea fishing expedition, 12 fishermen from Tharuvaikulam found themselves in hot water when their mechanized boat, captained by Michael Pakyaraj, accidentally drifted into the territorial waters of the Maldives on October 23rd. The Maldivian Navy promptly detained both the boat and its crew, leaving the fishermen in a precarious situation. This incident turned what was supposed to be a multi day fishing adventure into a high stakes maritime drama. The fate of the fishermen and their catch remains uncertain as we await updates on their nautical ordeal. Conclusion. In the ever changing world of Indian fisheries, a flexible participatory approach is essential. Keep an eye on production, supply, and demand, and be prepared for evolving policies. Remember, these laws are essential for maintaining a balance between fishing for food and protecting our marine ecosystems. There you have it, a quick overview of India's coastal fishing regulations in different states. Remember, these rules are in place to protect the marine environment and ensure sustainable fishing practices. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like and share, subscribe for more informative content. And if you have any questions or thoughts on this topic, drop them in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you in the next video.